Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to Guns N' Roses Central. And today I want to talk about Guns N' Roses' very first appearance on MTV. So I'm not talking about the first time Welcome to the Jungle premiered. I'm talking about the first time the band ended up on Headbangers Ball. So Slash talked a bit about it in his book. So that appearance came in late 1987. Guns N' Roses was about to go out on the road with Motley Crue, but just before that tour started, they stopped by Headbangers Ball. And here's what Slash had to say about what was going on at that time. He said they were basically playing England, and they were doing it like a short European tour. And he said, we ended the tour on October 8th, 1987 in London, and it was amazing. The band was really coming into its own, and we'd had enough road time by then to know what we were doing. We become comfortable as players, and we know one another well enough that we didn't really have to think too much about what we were doing during the moment that we went on. Once you had that familiarity, you can improvise and build from there and make every show unique. The Hammerstein Odeon show was explosive, and diehard fans that I run into this day tell me that it was one of the best shows of ours they've ever seen. When a show really clicked, as we did that night, we would have a great interaction going between me and Izzy because we had this indescribable guitar relationship, or I could be in sync with the rhythm section, Duff or Steven, or there was a great interaction between Axl's energy and my emotional interplay with him. It was just a great energy as a whole, and we throw it out at the crowd and they throw it right back at us. And it really couldn't have happened in a better venue. The Hammerstein Odeon is the famous room where everyone from Motorhead to The Who to Black Sabbath to the Beatles to Johnny Cash has played, and it's where Bowie did his final gig as Ziggy Stardust in 1973. So when the band returned from Europe, they went basically straight to MTV's Headbangers Ball. So Slash said, we returned to the States and landed in New York City and went directly to do MTV's Headbangers Ball. Immediately afterward, we get on the tour bus to do an overnight drive and meet up with Motley Crue to begin our stint opening for them. We'd flown all night, hadn't showered, and we were in no mood for the MTV experience. From the moment we entered the building at 10 a.m., it was a huge clash between the hungover, sweaty, unclean touring in the same clothes for weeks rock musicians and the corporate world of MTV. When we got there was a Geffen representative waiting to meet us who was all smiles and bullshit gracious posturing. We got our little name tags, we filed through the turnstile into the elevator and into a room to wait. It was some green room with nothing in it but 2 couches and a table. There was no rider, no amenities, nothing in there at all. I had my bottle of Jack with me, of course, so I was fine. And it was obvious that we weren't happy, so someone up there sent VJ Downtown Julie Brown in to say hello and keep us occupied for a minute. I got the feeling that it wasn't her idea. She didn't want to be in the room with us at all. She went through the paces, but it wasn't anything close to her trademark bubbly self. She looked nervous and apprehensive. She clearly had the worst perceptions of our band. For someone who lived in New York and was supposedly downtown, she turned my stomach. If I'd been further through my bottle of Jack, I probably would have shouted what I was thinking. Shut the F up already. We don't need you to be here and we don't need to be here. We all have to get through this day. When we got on set, we met JJ Jackson, the host, and he was really cool. They had this big set, and somewhere along the line, we joked that we should destroy it on camera, and the idea stuck. And amongst ourselves, we decided that we were going to basically just do that. So we got into the interview, and Axl talked, answering all of JJ's questions. I sat there quietly while the other guys were quiet too, and we waited until the show was just about over, and then in 10 seconds flat, we totaled the set. I didn't think about it at the time, or again until a couple weeks later when I saw the episode. We looked like savage zombies straight out of 28 Days Later, and that was our first real exposure, our first step up from just having a video on MTV, and that was us, including our way into the mainstream consciousness. We left MTV, got on our tour bus, and the next day we set off with Motley. Now, unfortunately, Duff's book doesn't mention the MTV Headbangers Ball appearance, but he seems to remember things a bit different. So after they came back from Europe, he said, when we came back to the States, we played our first ever East Coast gigs, headlining a small-scale tour in places like Allentown and Albany. It was a bare-bones operation, 1 bus and a rider truck for our gear. In clubs, the lights and sound were already installed, so you got what you got. Good or bad, you couldn't do anything about it. And we just hoped that places had a shower that we could use. We played the Ritz in New York City for the first time, and the buzz about us seemed to finally be building in New York. We played another show at the famous Brooklyn hardcore club, L'Amour, billed only as mystery guests. Rumors that it would be us was enough to fill the place. And we did an acoustic set at CBGB's on October 30th, 1987, where we debuted Patience for the first time. Then he goes on to say, we then joined Motley Crue on the Girls, Girls, Girls tour. So why did MTV want Guns N' Roses to redecorate their set? So according to the DJ who interviewed Guns N' Roses for that interview, he said the studio was going to be demolished after the show and a new Headbanger ball set was to be put in their place. So the host thought it would be great to have GNR destroy the studio since the Who used to throw TVs out of hotel rooms. So the host presented the idea to Axl and Slash and the band was like, are you for real? So Rolling Stone magazine designated that moment one of the top 40 greatest moments in MTV history at number 35. The host got knocked over the head with a beam, and the host talked to Axl about growing up in Indiana and his band Roadmaster, which used to play college campuses. Now, it wasn't too long after that appearance that GNR once again was on MTV's Headbangers Ball. So they were touring with Motley Crue, and they were in Lakeland, Florida, and this time around their appearance was much more controversial. So the band was set to appear on MTV and give their interview, but Guns N' Roses management Alan Niven and Doug Goldstein realized that the band was in no fit state to be taped. Slash and Izzy were on some distant smack planet where they'd been joined by Motley Crue's bassist Nikki Sixx. Duff was drinking himself into oblivion most days, and Axl was unpredictably contrary whenever confronted by the press, and so damaged limitation was entered into. So the band was filmed playing It's So Easy, and Goldstein did an interview in an attempt to put a bright, shiny face on a bunch of obvious F-ups, before MTV finally got to confront the band face-to-face in the dressing room as Motley Crue took the stage. A piece that rapidly degenerated into an unairable few minutes of drunken swearing and laughter. And when it finally made the air, it was heavily cut, and it was years later when Appetite was all of a sudden the biggest selling rock record on the planet. Here's snippets of that disastrous interview that Guns N' Roses did on MTV.
Change it because, you can't say that.
Slash, you want to say something there?
On the other side of the coin, we don't write words to put fuck in it. It's just they're real life stories. And when you talk to somebody on the street, when you talk to somebody anywhere, swear words are going to come into it. Yeah, and so you tell a story, and you're gonna say, yeah, well, I was down there, and this fucking thing, and this and that, and
so whatever just comes natural to you guys.
Yeah, so when you tell a story to anybody, which our songs are, really, you're gonna add in anybody in the world. I don't care who it is. Adds in cuss words. Okay.
Sometimes I like a big long mic. Come up to me, right? I was a little kid, right? You take her so far before, and all of a sudden it'd be like, you blah blah blah, you fucking blah blah blah, fuck blah blah blah, and you'd be like, all right, grandmother's pissed, all right, and she carried a lot of weight around in those days, and she still does, and
grandma is heavy here, but she does carry her weight.
No, she's a sweet lady, but she's one of the sweetest ladies I know. But you piss her off, and she goes on a fucking, how's it go? Variable plectrum. Plethora of curse words. Shit.
And you thought writing songs was easy.
No, but but I know I just realized is that it'll never work. It just doesn't work.
This won't work.
This does not work. So if not that I'm saying I'm built like a Heineken bottle, but it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And the whole AIDS thing, it just doesn't, it's not going to do anything. It just fucking sucks.
Now here's the interview with Doug Goldstein, and you can tell he's under a lot of stress. I think he was sleeping like 2 hours a night, trying to keep a close eye on the band and stop them from really getting into trouble. Here's the clip from MTV.
Here with the manager of Guns N' Roses. Is the concert tour wearing on the group, or what's it like at this stage of the game? You've been on tour for a little while.
Yeah, it's not really even the amount of time that we've been on the stage, it's just the intensity. These guys are nuts. I mean, they keep me hopping all the time. I'm getting about 2 hours of sleep a night.
Is it really true? You can hear the fans screaming in the background. Are these guys as hard rocking, as hard playing as everybody says they are?
Straightforward. It's completely straightforward. A lot of people ask me, what are they like off stage? And nothing's different. I mean, they are the craziest guys I've ever worked for.
So they go just as hard as they play on the stage, in front, after the stage, after the show, in the morning. Okay,
at all times.
They keep you busy.
Real busy. I got to make sure that I always have enough alcohol. It doesn't matter if it's 8 a.m. or when.
So that does it for today's video, guys. guys. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. And let me know what your guys' thoughts are. When did you guys see Guns N' Roses on MTV for the first time? And did you see their first appearance on Headbangers Ball when it aired live? I guess when it was first shown on MTV back in 1987. And did you guys ever see the Night in the Jungle interview when MTV originally aired it a few years later? So thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one, and hope you guys have a great rest of the weekend. Take care.